Hello everybody. Several months ago, a viewer asked me how I managed to get my trains to stop and wait for a passing train, as you see in this video. I gave a brief explanation that I'm sure was totally inadequate, so I promised to make a video about it when I got a chance. I'm finally getting around to it, so I hope this provides some clarification. First of all, you need a 761 semaphore, which you can see at the crossing of this video. When the arm is up, the light is green and there is power to the isolated section. When the arm is down and the light is red, the power is cut off to that isolated section. I'll explain more about this a bit later. Here are close-up pictures of the semaphore. You can also use a 758 Sam the Semaphore Man accessory, and I believe there's another accessory that looks like the semaphore without the pole. If so, perhaps a viewer could provide more information about that in the comments. In this picture, you can see that there are 5 wires coming out of the semaphore. In this case, I suspect that the yellow wire was replaced at some time because it's hard to distinguish it from the white wire, but I do know that the longer wire is the yellow one. You also need 2 697 trips like this. These rely on pressure from the weight of the train. In these pictures, you can see the disc that's underneath the trip. It makes contact with another electrical point when the weight is put on the trip. Since the engines and the rolling stock can vary in weight, this can be a bit touchy, but there is a star nut that you can use to try to adjust it. Since my demonstration layout will be on carpet, I'm going to put a thin piece of cardboard under it. Actually, even on my portable layout that has a hard surface, I still sometimes have to use a thin piece of cardboard for a bit of a shim. There can be a lot of trial and error associated with these trips, but they do work. I believe you can also use a 670 electric track trip, which is shown here. It uses an electrical impulse instead of weight, so it's supposed to be more reliable. I just recently acquired this one and haven't had a chance to try it out yet, so I'll stick with the 697 trips for this video. I'll ask any viewer who has experience with the 670 trip for any insights you might have about it. You'll also need 2 insulated pins so that you can isolate one section of the track where the train will stop when necessary. The pins in this picture are plastic with small tabs to make sure that the tracks don't touch each other. I've seen them made of other non-conducting materials, and once, when I didn't have any, I used flat toothpicks, which also worked well. But these are cheap and easy to get from any vendor or site that carries American Flyer products, so I would recommend that you get them. This picture shows a short section of track with an insulated pin at each end. Make sure that you put both pins in the same side as shown in the instructions. Finally, you'll need a 707 terminal with only one post. If you don't have one, then you could still use a regular 690 terminal, but then you'll use only the base post tab. For wiring, I'll be referring to the standard Gilbert American Flyer operating manual. If you don't have one, they're relatively simple to find, or you might be able to read the instructions from this picture of page 40. I'll be demonstrating the one with the transformer, not the rectifier. In this clip, I'm showing how I used color-coded test leads to make the connections for this demonstration. It's probably not easy to figure out from this, but along with the manual, this might help. I'm going to show the semaphore being used on 2 layouts. One will be a basic oval, and the other will be a type of figure 8 with a crossing. In the first 2 videos, I'll show first 1 and then 2 Atlantics going around the loop. When they go over the trip on the right side, the semaphore arm will drop, the light will turn red, and the power to the section of track right before the trip will be shut off. When it goes over the trip on the left side, the arm will go up, the light will then turn green, and the power will be restored to that section. In these videos, try to watch the arm and the light on the semaphore changing as the trains go over the trips. This video has 2 Atlantics running together. One is faster than the other, so you see the faster train stopping while the slower one keeps running. In this video, I've added some cars to each train. Sometimes the faster train will be going over the trip that restores power at the same time the other one is going over the trip that shuts the power off. So in this case, the power will stay active in the isolated area. But by the second time around, the faster train will be far enough ahead that it's past that trip before the power gets shut off, so it will stop. Technically, even though the trains stop in the isolated area when the power is shut off, there is still enough voltage going to that area that the reverse unit will stay engaged. It generally works well, but I still recommend that you lock the train in the forward position, just to be safe. I'll use this layout for my second demonstration. This is a variation on a layout that's in the Gilbert American Flyer Manual, and I used it in my 2021 and 2023 Christmas videos. In fact, I'm making this current video in mid-December, so after I'm done with this video, I'll convert this to a Christmas layout. Since this layout has a crossing, it's very close to what I have on my portable layout. For this layout, I put the isolated area right before the crossing. The trip to shut off the power is right after the crossing, and the trip to restore power is at the right end of the layout. Here's a view of how I did the wiring for this layout. The only change I made from the manual is that I spliced one yellow wire that should have gone all the way to the transformer into another yellow wire going to the transformer to save on wire. I'm using a Hudson and royal blue for this demonstration. If you decide to do something like this, then I recommend that you test it out with a variety of engines before fastening it down permanently. As far as the isolated section goes, Pacifics, Hudsons, Northerns, and many diesels tend to stop quickly, but Atlantics can sometimes coast a ways, so you need to factor that in so that they don't coast right through the crossing. On the other hand, Atlantics tend to start very quickly, where some other engines sometimes need to build up momentum, so you need to place the trip for restoring power accordingly. With enough testing, it can work really well and add a lot of interest to your layout. And as you can see, it can be very reliable. I want to finish with one short section about another use for the 697 trips. Page 26 in the manual shows how these trips can be used to automatically flip switches. The controller and switch get hooked to the transformer the same way as any other switch. Then the 697 trips get attached to the red and green posts on the switch, as shown in the manual. In this video, I'll start a train on the outside loop. You'll notice that the switch isn't set for the outside loop, but once the train goes over that trip, the switch automatically changes. It then goes around the inside loop until it goes over the trip on the inside loop, which again changes the switch. I'll use a switch that you can't see to put the train back on the outside loop and go through the whole process one more time. This can help avoid derailments caused by forgetting to flip the switch, or for continuously running on different loops if you have enough trips. So that's it for now. I hope this made some sense and will be helpful to anybody considering these types of additions to their layouts. Thanks for watching.